kind of the momentum they had going down there at the time, coming off, an NBA Finals. Remember, this was like 96, 97. After Grant Hill had got hurt, after Grant Hill had got hurt playing with the Pistons, free agency was around. And, hey, kudos to Tim for making the right decision for him and staying in San Antonio. They went on to win more championships after that. Actually, I think this was like 2000, 2001 free agency. Because I think that the strike shortened year was 98. So, yeah, it had to have been a little later. Sorry about that. But I think that would have been cool. I think it would have been cool if in 2003, as we're hearing now, Jason Kidd would have ended up playing with San Antonio. Who knows how many NBA championships could have come out of that mixing. Jason Kidd was a floor general. I mean, he's the reason, in my opinion, some of those Olympic teams got gold medals, because he was that leader who just said, okay, now we're going to play basketball. Settle down. Let's remember who we are. And like I talked about, we might not have on this year's squad. But that would have been really cool to see. It's going to be also very cool to see the Tim Duncan's Hall of Fame class, because he will go in with Kobe. If for some reason between now and the beginning of the NBA season Kevin Garnett decides to retire, we're going to have one heck of an NBA Hall of Fame class, or a professional basketball Hall of Fame class. Because, face it, both of those guys, Kobe and Tim, both will be first ballot Hall of Famers. No matter what you think about them personally, good or bad, if you look at them both just as basketball players, incredible careers, incredible players. Different by all means. Kobe was loud, he was boisterous, he was the Black Mamba. And like I've said a few times, Tim Duncan was the big fundamental. He had the fundamentals down. He could pass. He could play defense. He could block shots. He could rebound. He could box you out. He could do the pick and roll. He could do the bank shot. He had the hook shot. He had the mid-range game. Now, he wasn't a long-distance shooter. That wasn't how he came up. That's not the style of game he played. They never needed to. In fact, his coach doesn't even like three-pointers, even though he's had some very good three-pointers shooters over the years. He's gotten to play with some great players. Sean Elliott, Avery Johnson, Stephen Bonner, Robert Horry, right? Mr. Clutch. Won him a couple championships. An illustrious career. We could do a whole show just talking about Tim Duncan. We could do a whole show talking about this next guy and what he did at the Home Run Derby. I don't know if you guys watched the Home Run Derby. I listened to it on radio. Most of it, not all of it. Giancarlo Stanton, 61 home runs. Right? So if you don't take Barry Bonds' home record, that's not you, and you don't like it, so you don't validate that number. And you think Babe Ruth 61 is still the number. Well, Giancarlo Stanton tied that in one night at the Home Run Derby. Some of the stats and some of the records that I'm looking at, how many of these home runs he hit in the Derby compared to other players and other Derbies. The previous record, you guys, was 41, and I'm sure you've all heard that already. But 41 to 61, that's almost as big of a smash as far as the new format with the hit clock, if you will. The timing that you have to get these things in the bracket style system that they're going with. To go from 41 as the original record to 61, that's almost like what Steph Curry did this year in the NBA. Taking the record from like 297 to 402. He had a whole season to do it. Stanton had one night. In fact, he beat the previous record of 41 with just 2 rounds. His first round, he had, 24? I think it was 24-14 over Robinson Cano, who, by all means, he's won a home run derby before. So, he took out a couple home run derby champions while in a time crunch hitting 61 home runs. Because he beat Todd Frazier in the finals, and that was the defending champion. I believe that was 21-17, if I'm not mistaken. And then in the middle round, he still hit 17 of them. Impressive display of hitting power. I think almost 40 of his home runs went over 440 feet. He had something like 7 of the top 8 longest home runs of the night, or maybe more. Oh my goodness. Why'd they bring Sierra and Russell Wilson out, everybody? Why'd they bring those two out together? That's just silly. I don't care if they're married now and all the little stuff about him finally, doing the business. They didn't need to be out there together. That was silly press. Sorry for interrupting. Let's go back to Stanton and the home run derby. That just caught me. I had to say something about that. And I don't really know how I feel about the bracket style in the clock. It made it feel like it was faster, but it still went 2.5 hours. It started at like 6:30, 8:30, 9 o'clock, wrapped up. I had stuff to do, honestly. Like I said, I only caught part of it on the radio. So it really wasn't a faster event. It just felt faster because now there was a clock. I don't know. I mean, that's silliness. So we'll see if they continue to go with this in the future or if they try and change it up. Honestly, it was the best part of All-Star Weekend. It hasn't been that good in recent years, to me anyway. So it was exciting by all means. 61 of them. I watched the replays of that. It was pretty cool to see. So, good job. Good job. To go with, and by the way, this is a guy, he's not an all-star this year. He didn't make the team. He flew out to San Diego from Florida just to be in the home run derby. So, there was probably no way, and I believe he said there was no way he was coming out here to put on a bad show like he did a couple years ago. And, this could end up costing, you've seen different guys win it in the past, and their swings off in the second half of the year. So this could cost the Marlins in the second half of the season. We'll have to see how that goes. Let's hope it doesn't. Let's hope they can start putting something around this kid because he can hit the ball a mile. The All-Star game itself, the American League won it for the 4th straight year. They won it 4-2, pretty much because the Kansas City Royals players, they hit, back-to-back or 2 home runs in the second inning. One of them, Eric Hosmer, won the MVP, so good for him. That's the second Royals player to win the All-Star Game MVP. The other being Bo Jackson, way back in the late 80s. Not that he's anywhere near being Bo Jackson, but nobody is. So, the All-Star Game's over. I'm not big on baseball's All-Star Game. I don't really like that Bud Selig made the winner get home field in the World Series. That makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me that a few years ago it ended in a 12-12 tie. All-Star games, they need to be revamped or gotten rid of and just announce the teams. Because you got too many starters who don't even go, too many guys who want to take rest or have this injury or that injury, and you end up having 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th guys on these all-star teams for the games, on the Pro Bowl roster, on the NBA squad. And then it's not even a real version of the sport, and the guys don't take it seriously. It's not competitive. I mean, what was the NBA all-star game score this year? Like 400 to 500? It was ridiculous. I don't like the format of any All-Star game. I'm starting to not like the side of events. I would like to see, get rid of that. Get rid of the All-Star games. Get rid of all that stuff. Name an All-Pro or an All-Star team or an All-Conference team and an All-Pro team. And then move on and do what I loved as a kid watching. Do a skills competition either before or after the season with the best players just doing specific skills. For a competition, 4 points, have the ultimate running back, quarterback, have each position have the ultimate player come out at the end because they won the total and, have a fun little thing that way of the best players for the fans. And televise it. Because obviously you can't do that with enough fans live. But you can televise it like they did back in the 90s and the 80s. And you can have these skills competitions. And maybe, you get better ratings out of that than these pathetic examples of all-star games where the rules change and they mean different things than they should. I don't know. Whatever. All-star games, if you like them, good for you. They're not for me. Moving on. Interesting article on Fox Sports this week by Cameron, I believe the last name's pronounced Da Silva. He did the 5 most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. So I'm going to go ahead and just talk about his list. Not really going to talk about too much of what he said. He didn't put them in a specific order, 5 to 1, 1 to 5, anything like that. Just 5 guys that he feels are the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. So the 5 that he has on the list are Tyrod Taylor, Andy Dalton, Cincinnati Bengals, Tyrod Taylor of the Buffalo Bills, Alex Smith of the Kansas City Chiefs, Kirk Cousins of the Washington Redskins, who has a potential deal coming up here Friday. Von Miller, hello people. 15th is Friday. These deals need to get signed. And the last quarterback on the list was Teddy Bridgewater. Now, I don't know about you guys. I don't know if any name jumped off of that list and was like, wait a second, why is he on there? Or if you had a name pop in your head like, why is this guy not on there? Honestly, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league to me, and this is not a bias, this is some real talk right now, to me, is the Detroit Lions quarterback Matthew Stafford. He gets dogged out all the time by all the national people, by everybody over at the mothership, by Mark Schlereth. Everybody wants to dog on him. He's put up a lot of numbers. Everybody goes, oh, well, that's Calvin. It wasn't just Calvin. He didn't throw every pass to Calvin Johnson. He had other players. He's thrown for 5,000 yards. He leads the Lions in a lot of statistical categories already for a career. Last year, he was the only quarterback in NFL history to complete a 16-game season with 60% passer rating or higher in every game. But continuously he's dogged out. Oh, his arm angle's wrong. He does this. He hurries. He plays football. And I think what you're going to see with Jim Bob Cooter in a full year this year, you're going to see Matthew Stafford get to play some football. His security blanket's not going to be there. He's going to have to play a more fluid, open, wide open game. And I'm excited for it because, like I said, if I had to rank them, he, to me, is the number 1 underrated quarterback in the NFL. Moving on to a guy in his division, Teddy Bridgewater. I don't agree with this as an underrated quarterback. I think he's an overrated, hyped quarterback at this point and with a lot to prove. Right now, he's a game manager. And there's other game managers, or at least one more game manager on this list. Game managers, to me, can't be underrated or overrated unless you just have a bunch of hype, unless you have a Ron Jaworski talking about how great you are all the time. Now, I expect Teddy Bridgewater to be better this year. I expect this to be the best year he's had as a pro in year 3. He's going to be back inside. He's going to be playing on turf. It's going to make it easier for him to play up there in Minnesota. So, let him do something first outside of manage a game. Because last year, like I said on previous shows, Minnesota's young stud of a defense is what got them to 10-6 last season. It was not the offense. Now, they got some pieces on offense. Don't get me wrong. They're building something there, too. But it was not the offense that did it last year. It was not Teddy Bridgewater's arm. It's not like he's doing stuff that we haven't seen before, and we're not giving the guy credit. He gets all kinds of credit. He needs to now do the stuff that is deserving of the credit. In my opinion, just keeping it real for everybody. Kirk Cousins. I believe he's underrated, yes. I thought he was a better pick